Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, star maker for entrepreneurs who want to unlock their potential, command any stage, and make blockbuster profits. Welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a brand that makes you happy and profitable. Here we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, and welcome to this episode of Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a brand that makes you happy and profitable. I'm thrilled to have this interview today, which was a special episode of Thrive where I went off-site to interview my special guest, Shannon Gilmour. Shannon Gilmour is a beautiful, accomplished designer and the owner of Grace Interiors, where she creates exquisite interior designs for her clients that reflect their personalities, their tastes, and their family history. Shannon is such a unique entrepreneur. She's a world traveler who lived off the Sea of Cortez with her grandmother when she was a child. She was a professional model in Milan before she moved to New York and worked at the magazine Antiques and Art in America, and then launched her career as a designer. We talked about all things interior design, beauty, culture, art, and how all of those things impact your life. And of course, if you are designing your brand, your personal brand, your business, your life, you want it to reflect the best of who you are, your personality, and you want others to be able to experience you through your design, through your living spaces, through your workspaces. Shannon had so many interesting stories and also some great tips about what you can do to spiff up your interior spaces. I hope you enjoy this episode of Thrive. Well, thank you so much for opening your home up to us. It's really just the whole place is a work of art.
Thank you.
So how did you develop this wonderful eye? I mean, I'm looking around your home and I am seeing your travels, and I'm also seeing your love of art. It's not prints, it's real art, and I know that that's something that you're really passionate about. So how did that come into play for you?
Well, it might be genetic because my mother's an artist and has also traveled and inspired me with that. And even my grandmother, Grace, who my company is named for, and my daughter is named for, was an artist in her right. She loved needlepoint and bright colors, and she lived by the sea near the Sea of Cortez in Mexico. And so all my life I was exposed to bright colors and wonderful homes and beautiful settings. And then it just all developed. I was a dancer when I was a little girl. I was in the Nutcracker, and I always noticed the stage decoration and the costumes and the layering and the lighting. And then later I worked in fashion. I was actually 20 years and 20 pounds ago, well, 30 years and 30 pounds ago, a model where
You are still drop dead gorgeous.
Thank you. And I worked in the fashion industry, and then I decided I really wanted to not be the model. I wanted to be directing the shoot and to be styling it. And so, fashion, theater, interior decoration, all are linked together. And even my first term paper was on Claude Monet when I was in 7th grade.
Wow.
And I thought that, it just made an impression on me. I remember Claude Monet, an impression. And I didn't know I was going to be an art history major when I went to Southern Methodist University, but it just seemed like a natural passage for me. And I didn't know what I was going to do with the art history degree. And as I was studying art, I realized that I liked art. I liked 19th century art and 20th century art and what kind of brought me there. But the more I studied, the more I realized I liked studying ancient civilizations. And one of my favorite courses was on Pompeii, where we really studied the architecture and the interior decoration, the way that people lived, the way that they lived on a daily basis, whether they were the servants or the wealthy, the way they lived in community. And that's what really interests me. And also in Mayan art, even medieval art, it's the way that people lived and decorated their spaces around them and how things were built. And so then I moved to New York City and worked for the magazine Antiques, where I was exposed to amazing mentors. Wendell Garrett, who was with the Sotheby's for years, was our editor-in-chief, and I would sit in his office and just marvel at all the books and all the things in his office, all of his knowledge, and he knew so much about antiques and art and the history of art, and it was very impressive to me. And a lot of decorators today don't have the understanding of different china patterns and periods of furniture and traditional colors, and again, the way people lived in, you know, the Americana times, or even in the 60s, or whenever, you know, in this country and across the world. And so I had really great mentors, and then all of my clients, the antique dealers, I got to go into their homes.
Wow.
And so they influenced me. And then there's this one lady, her name is Gloria Kins, and she's now in her 90s, and she has the most amazing, amazing home in New York City. And my home was very much influenced by her. And she told me a long time ago, it doesn't matter the genre, the year of a painting or a sculpture or a piece of art or a textile, it just has to flow. The colors have to flow together, and the shapes and the sizes. And so she was a huge influence on me too.
So you were talking about how people live in the 60s and the ancient times. How would you describe the way that people live right now?
I think people are wanting to be a lot more comfortable and maybe a little bit less showy.
Well, that really depends on the person, though, doesn't it?
True. I think this newer generation is that way. They don't seem to care as much about china patterns or, you know, having those things in their daily life. And so I encourage that group of people to say, let's put some of those plates on the wall. They're a textile. They're a piece of art. You know, I feel like people want their lives to be comfortable and simple, but they still want it to reflect their hobbies and their joys, their color palettes.
Yeah, I think that's true too. And I also think that we're accosted by electronics. I mean, we're doing this shoot now, there are cameras, there are lights, I heard a cell phone of mine like beep in the corner. How do you deal with that when people being comfortable in today's world also means being surrounded by electronics and computers and screens? How do you deal with that when you're decorating a house?
Well, I make a joke about that. I always encourage my clients to, maybe for an anniversary or a Christmas time or a holiday, Hanukkah, whatever, it's, you know, a special time, Mother's Day, which is coming up, to purchase perhaps a, you know, a beautiful piece of artwork, a rug, or something that will have meaning and be passed down through the generations. And I always say, something that you would want in your spaceship, because all of our electronics are only going to change, and the second you buy an electronic, it's immediately off the shelf and deteriorating and is, you know, not worthy anymore of the next greatest thing.
I love that. So if you were going up in a spaceship, what would be the 3 things that you would bring with you?
Oh my.
And why? And why?
Oh my. Well, my son loves to play the piano, and it's a center.
I don't know if it's going to fit in the spaceship.
So I don't know what we're going to do about that.
We'll say it's a very big spaceship, so you can bring whatever you want.
Right, and I like the sound of authentic instruments. And so when we moved to this house, I said to my son, because my daughter was already in college at the time, I said, all we need is a tubby, a piano, and at the time he was really into Xbox, and then we'll be fine. But I was able to move out of our home of 19 years with my favorite pieces, and so I really had to make that decision about 3 years ago, and what were my favorite things. But I didn't have to decide on 3.
Okay, so but now 3.
So I would say the painting that my grandfather gave me. It's a Symboli painting. It's beautiful, and he bought it for me because he was reminded of my cousin me when we used to visit him in La Jolla, California, where we spent our summers. And it's so meaningful because he bought it for me with me in mind. So that's one. Then I would have to say my grandmother's and great-grandmother's china. I mean, it just really means a lot to me, the china and silver, and we use it not just for special occasions, but I use it a lot, and it reminds me, again, of the tradition.
That's really different because a lot of people use their china maybe twice a year.
I use it a lot.
Yeah, that's great.
And the silver too. I say, some people say, why have it? And I say, if you have it, why not use it?
Exactly.
So, and then Oh, my mom has given me so many beautiful things for this home. So many special Limoges pieces. I wish I could pack them all up in one little box and take them with me. And then I guess if it was something that was not from anyone that I just bought for myself, I would have to say my cowboy painting.
So tell me about that.
So when I was graduating Southern Methodist University and moving to New York.
And Southern Methodist is where?
In Dallas.
In Dallas.
Where I was raised.
Okay.
So I've got that Texan side of me. My mother was born and raised in Tucson and then went to Stanford and lived in India.
Wow.
And then my father is Texan, and I'm fourth generation on his side. And we spent our summers with his side of the family in Colorado. So I have the West really covered and the South here.
Yeah. And now Boston.
And now I ended up in Boston, where my grandmother, Grace, was born. And then was raised in Palm Beach. So here we are.
It's that global eye, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And also bringing all those different cultures and yes, exactly. So I went to New York. Yeah. And I remember we were all celebrating about our jobs and what we were doing, and I was so looking forward to working for the magazine Antiques. And I will tell you, I made not as much money that first year in New York working for the magazine Antiques as I did modeling part-time in college. But I was in my dream world. I was in interior decoration and being taught so much, and was put on the road right away. And they gave me the Southern Territory, Bucks County, New York. So I got to really travel a lot with that job as well, and get to see a lot of the Deep South. And I had 2 roommates from Louisiana. But there's a big part of me that's Texan.
Yeah, I can hear a little bit of that.
That's right. And I always say y'all, too. Yeah. And anyway, so I knew this artist, Sasso, Jimmy Sasso. And I saw him out one night, and I said, I want to buy the cowboy. You know that song, I want to be a cowboy. I said, I want to buy the cowboy. And he said, well, okay, and which one? And I said, I want the one that I have in my home now. And so at the time, it was only on canvas, rolled up canvas. It was not stretched.
So this is the picture in the other room. That's not. It's not this big, right?
No,
how big
huge.
Is it? Is like
he's huge,
8 by
bigger than life.
Yeah, big, like Texas.
And I only have a couple of paintings of men in my room, my house. One is of the cowboy, and one is of a Turkish dog. And
I don't know what that says about men.
I don't know. I love men. I have a son and a father and a brother. But I just think women depicted in art, it's just so beautiful. But the cowboy, so anyway, the cowboy came with me to New York, and wherever I lived, I would just roll him down, and he was the center of my space. And my friends and I at the time, we had roommates, would say, if the cowboy could talk, we'd all be in trouble. Because he saw and heard it all.
So the cowboy's going on the spaceship.
The cowboy is going on the spaceship.
Oh my God, I so much love that.
And then I finally stretched him when and put him on a frame when I moved to Winchester 22 years ago.
I love it. So you mentioned briefly that you were a model, and then you said, I landed at Antiques magazine in New York, and I felt so lucky. A lot of people have the dream of being a model. Being a model is it. You've made it, you're a model, and everybody sees that as the glamour thing. So it's interesting to me because there was a time in my career when I was singing and I was on stage, and I didn't want to be there anymore, and it's like I left that world to do some branding and business consulting that I do now. And it's backwards, because a lot of people think, oh, if I could only be on stage, or if I could be a model. But it's such a great example of really following your heart. So how did you know? I mean, how did you make that transition?
I knew, again, I didn't just love standing there, and but I gained a lot of experience about shoots and being on stage. I was a broadcast journalism minor too, and I knew I didn't want to go live in a small town, Monroe, Louisiana, where my best friend Tiffany Kinney, who is now the evening anchor in Palm Beach, and my good friend Kim is the evening anchor here. But I knew I also wanted to live in New York, so that I would also be exposed to the arts there. And I was a member of the young people who supported the MoMA. I was very involved with the Public Art Fund there. So I love fashion. I have a lot of friends in that industry, but to me it was, again, how people lived. And I like directing the shoot and not the shoot, but I wanted to be styling it.
Yeah.
And and a lot of people have asked me to help them. All my clients always say, what should I wear to this event next weekend? And so sometimes I'm styling not only their homes, but the parties that they have, because I know their home so well and the flow and what would work. Sometimes I help them with their outfits, most definitely a lot of the time if they ask.
Well, didn't there used to be a show where they would take someone's outfit? They'd say, go get your favorite outfit, and then we're going to design the room around the outfit. Didn't they used to do that?
I think there's one like that.
Yeah.
I mean, my children used to laugh when they were little, because when we'd go, let's say for Mother's Day or Easter, I wanted all their dresses, maybe not always matchy-matchy when they got older, but all the colors to flow for the photographs. And it's all about the graceful living and having things flow and work and coordinate and also be comfortable and not a facade, but to really feel good. The way that you look, the way that your home feels, the way that you present yourself. And then there were a few years in New York, I realized I could make more money in financial services or marketing, and I did that for a while, and that was a great experience because it gave me a really professional background on how to work and conduct business with my clients. Because guess what? My clients are creative. Yes, and they have good taste, of course, because anyone that hires a designer is ready to make some decision and is committed to good taste. And usually they just need nudges or 3 or 4 directions instead of 500, and sometimes they're overwhelmed. But that experience enabled me to be able to be very professional, on time, on budget, and to be able to communicate with my clients. Because guess what? Most of them are doctors and lawyers and financial service people and accountants and engineers, and again, they're creative in their own fields, but they expect a certain level of business-like manner. And
well, that's the thing also, that you're a creative, you're an artist, you're the director of this whole scene that you're creating, but you're also an entrepreneur.
That's right.
You're a business person.
That's right.
And both of those things, and I think that sometimes that's tricky for people in all creative industries, and is to really, I know that was a challenge for me when I was making that transition, and I had to learn a lot, and I love it. I love learning those things, and I like doing it, but it is something that I think that you have to really embrace, that you are a business person who does this for your business as well. We were talking about your son and music and that whole lifestyle as well. Even if you're a musician, you have to be a business person.
Yes, and my daughter's, guess what? She's graduating soon and she's going to be a teacher. She has to treat that like a business, because if we're going to be professional and get paid for what we do, then we have to be professional, and not just with our clients. Another thing that's really important for me is to get along and work well with the contractors, with the tile people, with the electricians, with the plumbers. Usually my clients see me, the first time, looking fabulous, maybe at an event, dressing the part, of course. But then I'm in my hauling gear, because being a decorator is not all glamorous. For sure. It's not the runway like modeling was all the time, for sure. And even that industry, I remember when I was modeling once, I was on a ladder and I was on the ground and they were on a ladder pouring water in my face to make it look like a waterfall. All of these businesses are not as glamorous as they seem all the time. And we have to work hard and to show up for everyone. And I just had tilers, this morning, I was on my knees laying out the flow of the tile with them, because you want their respect too. Right.
And I mean, it doesn't matter what industry, and hard work is what it takes to be successful. And sometimes people look at people who are really successful and they're like, oh man, I wish I could do that. But you don't, or the overnight success in Hollywood, but you don't see the 10 years of the effort that was laid down to achieve that success. It's all of it that comes. It's not just that moment when you're on stage, or the moment that you're finished, ta-da, here's the beautiful room. There was a lot of work that went into that as well.
And the work that led up to it.
Exactly.
My children's father would always say, Shannon, you give so much away in the beginning. You have years and years and years of experience. But also, I feel that in my industry, and yours too, we have to give a little bit away in the beginning so people can trust you and know how you work. And I have a set of questions I ask Claytons all the time. I ask them, when I first work with them, it's called a design quest methodology. And it's a set of questions that help me to get to know them and the way that they want to live, where they are, the here and now, what they would like in the future. Do they want to be really involved, sort of involved? What are their budgets? How do they like to best communicate? By phone, text, email. There's so many things that we need to start on the right path right away. I mean, just like when you and I first met, you asked me a lot of questions, and you're a good listener. And again, I think that's a really important part of being professional, is being a good listener, and then being able to take what you've heard and to follow that direction with your experience and your suggestions. And sometimes you need a nudge.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the show. There's still more great content to come, but I wanted to take just a minute to talk to you about a new course I've created called Close Any Room. You may have noticed that all of my guests know how to speak about their businesses in a clear and compelling way. But that's something a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, and it's something you need to know how to do so you can convert your audience into more sales. And that's why I've created this course. It's a 6-week audio course to teach you how to craft a signature talk so that you can authentically give value and close more of your audience from the stage. In the class, you learn how to create a clear and compelling point of view, how to organize your content and give great value to your audience without giving away the farm, how to structure your talk so that it seamlessly closes your audience at the end without feeling salesy. And I also give you templates and instructions how to create marketing materials, a speaker sheet, and all kinds of sign-up sheets when you're giving your talks. And finally, what everybody's hot to know, I also give you tips and resources on how to find speaking gigs. It's an all-inclusive course so that you can start closing and selling more from the stage. And as my free gift to you for tuning into the podcast, I'm giving you my free webinar, also called Close Any Room, and you can listen to it at clearvoicebranding.com/close-any-room. And it will give you lots of tips and information to get you started on how to create that signature talk that sells. Okay, we're going to get back to the show now. There's still more great content to come. Thanks for joining me. So, talking about nudges and suggestions, what would be some things that the average person could do in their house to give it more sophistication, to make it more authentic? I know I hear you saying that over and over in all of the things that you're saying today, to really express who you are, to make it comfortable, to bring in your traditions and your rituals and your family. So what are some simple things that people can do to do that in their homes?
Well, there's 2 places that people usually visit when they come to your home, and one is your foyer.
We hope.
Yes.
They're coming in the window.
Or it could be your your mudroom sometimes. So I feel like those first 2 places that people enter your home, it's really nice to make an impression, and also to take that space and to create a seasonal touch. And it doesn't always have to be with fresh flowers. You can take a really fabulous receptacle or vessel, and then just change out in the spring with hydrangeas, in the fall with some mums, and at Christmas with the poinsettia. But to set kind of the season and the tone is very nice. And then your powder room is also a place that people visit if they're there for any length of time. And I think that's a place that you can have a lot of fun and have some interesting pieces of artwork or display things that kind of tell a little bit of a story. I just did a wonderful entire home in Lexington that was actually the Postmaster General's home in Lexington from the 1850s, and it was completely gutted to studs. And I wanted it to have a farmhouse feel so that whoever was going to live there and then maybe purchase it at another time, it would fit within that genre. But the client that hired me for the space is She's a beautiful Chinese woman. She is a doctor. She really embraces her heritage, and she likes things to be very clean-lined, very quiet. It's not at all like this. It's very tonal and very quiet and very minimally accessorized, but it tells her story. And in that powder room, I did this fabulous, it's gray, black, and kind of silver with a chinoiserie theme on the wallpaper. But there was a farmhouse sink in there.
Oh, cool.
So it was
marrying
tradition, marrying her heritage, and then also honoring the home.
Right. So if you could describe like that marriage of traditional and contemporary, and you have that in yourself as well, of being very sophisticated, rubbing shoulders with people who have also traveled the world and been in the arts and been in the modeling industry, and you're also on the ground rolling up your sleeves and you're a Texas girl. Yeah. So if you had to give me like 3 words to describe who you are and what your aesthetic is, what would that be?
Wow. I would say textured. 1 word. I would say sophisticated and authentic.
I love that. And you know, you were talking about your daughter and being a teacher. Everybody is a personal brand. Whether you have a solopreneur business or you're a teacher, you work in corporate, you're representing yourself. And the more you can know who you are and express that, the more you're going to be happy in your job or in your career, and the more people are going to recognize who you are and if you're the right match for them.
That's right.
So that's who you are. Who are your ideal clients?
My ideal clients are, as I said before, people that have a sense of style and taste, that they are willing to take direction, to express themselves, that they're not afraid to tell me what they think or afraid of giving me an idea. I always laugh sometimes my clients, I'll go to their house and say, don't look at this, it's such a mess. Don't look at this, it's such a mess. And I always say, just come on over to my house and look at my junk drawer. You know, I'm here, I have the honor of being in their homes. I have clients with little kids. I have clients that are retired. I have clients that were working on their summer homes. So my ideal client is someone that works with me, let's say in the beginning, just to help them with some paint colors or to get started, and then we have this nice working relationship, and then it's the next room, and then it's their next house, and then it's staging that house to get ready to sell, to build their next house,
and then it's their dress for their party,
and then it's their summer house, and then it's their retirement condo, and and that's what happens over the last 15 years. I've helped clients with many transitions in their homes.
Yeah.
But there's no ideal client in terms of they have to have this budget or it has to be right now. It is someone that is going to commit to making some decisions and to something right now.
Right. And also, like you said, that appreciates sophistication and wants their thumbprint on their home and is willing to experiment, right?
But they don't have to have traveled everywhere.
That's your job, right?
Right.
That's why they need you, because you bring the world. I mean, so since you've been all over, what's your favorite place that you've ever been?
Well, that is...
Besides right here.
Right here. That is... I think wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And I have really positive memories of the places I've been, and they're very special and specific reasons why.
So just give us one of the specific reasons and where you were.
So my most recent adventure that was just so magical was to Zambia, Africa. I was so inspired by the people and the nature and the ruggedness and just the simplicity. And I didn't go with anyone that was dear to me. I have a good long-time family friend who's also an interior decorator, and she is dear to me, and I hadn't seen her in about 25 years. So she was there. But when I say dear to me, my parents weren't there, my children weren't there. It was just kind of me. And it gave me a lot of time to think about my business, of course, my family, and my direction over the next 15 or 20 years. Because I realized with parents who are in Texas and aging, and with, I have a 28-year-old bonus daughter, an almost 22-year-old daughter, and a 19-year-old son. And I've defined myself a lot by motherhood, of course. But it gave me time to really envision what I wanted to do with Grace Interiors. In terms of my business, I think one of the most dramatic trips I ever took was to Turkey. I'd been to Greece at least 3 times before. I also went to Greece on that trip as well. But I took my Grace and my Clayton on that adventure. But going into Cappadocia, 3 hours flight from Istanbul, and really seeing how the rugs are made there, and purchasing over 20 rugs, of which I sold and kept some. It was just so magical, and it was seeing where all the religions of the world, all the cultures of the world all kind of came together, and again, the layering of history and people. And I didn't even realize how much I was inspired by Turkish design until I was there. So I would say that most recent trip. But there's nothing like living in a country, spending those summers at my grandmother's house in Mexico. Habla español porque mi abuelita vivía en Mexico 13 años. There's nothing like that experience of living somewhere. There's nothing like living in Milan and living in Rome, living in New York City.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying, and I can hear the passion in your voice, and in the whole time we've been chatting, I know your passion. I can feel it for the textures that you've brought into your life, and I just applaud you for following that deeper stream of knowledge and art and history, because not everybody does that, and that's something unique and beautiful that you contribute to the whole world, not just to your clients, but your spirit, your eye, your aesthetic, your wisdom, your history, all of those things, and how you combine them. So I really want to, acknowledge you for doing that. And now that we're here in this time and sharing this space together, I always like to ask my guests before we finish, what are you most grateful for?
I am most grateful, yes, for family. The family before me, the family I have now, and the family that will come after me. I'm grateful for the heritage, and what comes out is, all the things that they taught me. The experiences, sometimes really small, sometimes really big and monumental, that we shared together, and that I was able to pass on with my children, and I hope they'll pass on with theirs. And also, I've had a very fortunate long line of healthy family members, so I'm lucky to have that gene. I'm thankful that I can get out and do yoga and go to concerts and have my eyesight and my health and my ears and my facilities to be able to do what I love to do. Because really, health is everything, so that we can go out into the world and do what we love and be with whom we love. Yeah,
and even, I can hear the little things and the big things, and I know that's how you design as well, as the little things and the big things. And I really want to thank you. I'm so grateful that you've shared your time and your expertise with us, and also that you've opened up your beautiful home to us, because I think that's a gift to the viewers as well, to see this beautiful work of art that you've made with your expertise. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and it's been really fun. And my other house was built in 1908, and I lived there for 19 years, and it was a very different feel architecturally, and I just took those same pieces and brought them right here. And my friends call this home, and my kids call this home. We call it the clubhouse, we call it the tree house. It's a totally different setting, and I was really worried that maybe I was going to be sad to leave my other home. And then I found this, and then I realized I can have the things that are important to me around me. And if I downsize again, I'll do it again. So it's been wonderful to have you all here, and I'm just so honored that you wanted to interview me, and it's been fun talking about what I love. I sometimes don't get to talk about it because I'm always asking everyone else questions about what their lives are, what their goals are, what, you know, we're on a time, you know, so I don't get to really reflect that much.
Well, I really want to thank you for sharing it. I love talking to people who love what they do, who follow their passions, who express their authenticity and raise their skill and their talent to the highest level, because I think it's such a gift to humanity. That's why we're here, right, to contribute. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Thrive. I loved having you here. I love having you as part of my community. And if you're enjoying the show, I would love it if you share it with your friends on Twitter, on Facebook, or wherever they're hanging out. I also want to let you know you can leave me feedback or comments. I love hearing from you. Just post those at heatherpoduska.com. You can also leave suggestions for topics that you'd like to know more about, or if there's someone you'd really like to see on the show, let me know that as well. Okay, until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care. Bye-bye.